It's time to lock down your privacy and your iPhone.
I'm going to show you how you can use your lockdown iPhone or iPad as a webcam.
And I'm going to remind you that there's lots of great content on the Apple TV app.
Well, looky here. It's time for iOS Today. iOS Today comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether they're working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped promotes clean hygiene. When it comes to shaving your twig and berries, it's time to quarantine, Manscaped, and chill. Get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Code iOS. And by Molecule. Molecule is reimagining the future of your health with clean air, starting with the air purifier. For 10% off your first air purifier order, visit molecule.com and use the code iOS. Hey, everybody. Welcome to iOS Today. I am Leo Laporte, sitting here in the vacant LastPass Studios in beautiful downtown Petaluma. And that there is Mikey Sargent. Where are you sitting, Mikey?
In beautiful Petaluma, California, Mikah Sargent's apartment. How's it going?
It's
folks?
good. How are things in Mikah Sargent's apartment?
They are locked down. I'm feeling like my body is bigger than the space I am in.
Oh.
I'm reaching out. I'm breaking free.
Busting
and I just
out, huh?
want to be out of this.
Yeah.
But, alas.
I think you're not alone. We all do.
No.
But you have to find things to do.
Mm-hmm.
People
to see. No, not that one.
No, people to see, just things to do. Yeah.
Things to do.
And we are finding things to do. And, one of the things I think people are doing, and I thank you for doing it, is listening to podcasts more. I feel like I realized this. I had an epiphany because I was like, I want some voices in my house. Mm-hmm. I want some outside world in my house. But then I realized that the only live stuff on anymore is news, and that I don't want to watch 24/7. That's bad. So I realized, well, maybe we can fill that gap a little bit with some lively fun. We're like your friends. You invite in. In fact, the whole Twit network, I've reimagined what our job is, and that's to be your companionship if you're stuck at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you are alone or if they're, parts of, some people are still essential workers. And so they're going into work.
Oh.
You're left there at your house by yourself, those kinds of things. That it can be very lonely. And as I mentioned before, MacBreak Weekly did serve as that role when I was painting an empty house. I was in the house all by myself, painting this home, and it was really nice. I downloaded a bunch of older episodes of MacBreak Weekly, had the most recent ones, and was listening to that, and having those voices there with me was kind of nice. And so now, in an even more important situation, this is great, and I hope that we do get to be that for folks.
Yeah, we have some practice doing it anyway.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
So we appreciate you watching and listening. And just a couple of reminders for people who want live companionship. People who are actually doing it while you're. Isn't it funny? You can listen to a podcast that's been pre-recorded or watch a TV show that's been pre-recorded, and that's okay. But it's kind of nice, I guess, maybe because I come from radio and I have this in my head, to listen to people who are doing something at the same time as you're doing it. Does that make sense?
No, because there's something that's called body doubling. It's a real psychological concept that actually it does make a difference. It's as simple as sometimes I don't really want to do house cleaning, but just having my partner in the same space as me, he could be doing anything else. He could be playing around on his phone, but while he's doing that, I feel more apt to be able to clean or do whatever it is I need to do. Yeah.
So we're glad to help you clean.
Yeah.
Body double. If you want to listen live or watch live, you can do that on your computer, your iPhone, your iPad. There's a website, twit.tv/live, and there are a number of live video and audio streams there. You can pick the one you want and have it running in the background all the time. Also, if you have an Amazon Echo or a Google Voice Assistant, you can you might have to fiddle with the syntax, but at some point you could say something like Echo play Twit live. Sometimes it says Twit live, the same word, spelled the same, pronounced differently. But or you may say play Twit live on TuneIn. That seems to work better sometimes with Amazon. Anyway, try it. Play different ways. But once you've got that going, you're hearing the live stream, and we try to keep stuff going most of the time on our live stream. And then, of course, you can always download shows from our website, twit.tv, or from your favorite podcast application. You get it automatically that way. But I think that there's something about the live thing. But there's one more thing I should mention. Okay. And this can be a source of comfort, I think, for a lot of people. We have a live chat room. It's just text, but there's people in there all the time. More people when we're doing shows, but I'll go in the middle of the night sometimes when I'm wide awake and lonesome and I don't want to wake up anybody. And there's people in there from Australia and around the world. It's irc.twit.tv, and you can use Safari or any browser to go there, irc.twit.tv. And after a while, if you say, boy, I want to have the full experience, there are IRC clients you can use both on iOS and on macOS and on Windows that you can use to get in there. And you set them up, and then they're permanent. And that's usually what I do. In fact, I even go into our chat room via this is kind of a long way around, but I have a server running at home. I've mentioned this before. It's running 3 or 4 Minecraft games at the same time. It's running my Jitsi server, but it's also running what's something called WeChat, and I can log into it on my iPad. I find that's the best, believe it or not, chat experience. The chat client I used to use, I think it was called Mutter, is gone. So, in fact, if anybody has a good IRC client for iOS, mention it and tell me about it, because email iOS today at twit.tv so we can show it. But I'll show my it's kind of weird. The server way of doing it is kind of weird. Today, though, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about security.
Security right now.
Security,
that's a show you're doing later today.
Sooner or later.
So I was just going to mention, on the Mac, I love to use textual, and on the iPad and iPhone, I'm using an app called Palaver, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Oh, Palaver. No, Palaver.
Palaver.
Yeah,
is that a thing? What's Palaver?
Yeah, Palaver is a convo. When you get together with a bunch of people and you start John, the kind of thing we can't do anymore, that's a Palaver. And that's
good to know.
Yeah, it's actually a great name for a chat client.
Yeah. We're going to talk today about privacy and security. So last week, Leo's app cap was an app called NextDNS, and it made me think about how folks are, working from home or living at home, whatever it happens to be, and we all can use a little bit of knowledge and insight on locking down our devices, keeping our information as private and secure as possible. And I say one of the benefits, one of the reasons that I appreciate iOS devices in particular, is that Apple does seem to make privacy and security a line item on everything that goes out. I think it was Rene Ritchie who was saying that is essentially one of the teams that has its hand in every single different team, unless it passes the privacy and security team, until it passes the privacy and security team, a feature or a new service or what have you does not get to go to the next step until it's been approved by that team.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm going to mention NextDNS. Refer you back, though, to the previous episode where we referred to it and talked about setting it up. It's a free app you can put on an iPhone or an Android or a iPad or an Android or a Windows or Mac device. And I've been using it since then. Love it. Still in love with it. It's really simple
to set up. Yeah, it's super simple to set up, and you can create an online account and then create different configuration profiles for your devices, or you can use the same one across all of them if that's what you choose to do. It's so simple to set up, and I really do enjoy all of the different settings and features that it has that make it exactly how you might want it. And some of those nefarious means of getting you. So there's domain name squatting, where a bunch of ads and other gross stuff gets loaded when you go to a domain that's no longer in use.
Yeah, they call it typo squatting in NextDNS.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah. Isn't that terrible? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice to have all of that sort of locked away.
One pro tip, which is very handy. So once you set up NextDNS on your phone, the advanced configuration allows you to enter a configuration ID, which you'll set up on the web, and that's when you can turn on a lot of these advanced features. So it's a good idea, and we showed this last week, to have configurations for as many different, kinds of devices that you might, one for the kids, one for parents, that kind of thing. But I found that one of the things NextDNS in its default strongest security configuration did was block my Jitsi server at home. It was a real head scratcher. Why can't I get into my Jitsi server? And then I thought, oh, maybe NextDNS. So there is in the advanced configuration, again, this is on the website, a place to blacklist or whitelist sites. If you whitelist a site, you say, none of the security settings I've made have anything to do with this site. You're essentially saying, look, I trust this site. Don't block ads. Don't block malware. So you want to be careful using this. But as soon as I whitelisted twit.team, our Jitsi server, it all worked fine. So it's a little tip. You can also use the blacklist to say, no matter what, don't let my kids or don't let my wife or my husband go to this site. That would be a blacklist site that says this site is off limits. And a whitelist site means no security. Allow this site to do its job. So it's just a little advanced tip I've learned since last week because I was having trouble with my Jitsi server.
There you go.
Let me talk about, by the way, I should have showed you this whole process. I'm in chat now through SSH to my server at home running WeChat. It's kind of a crazy setup, but the reason I do it, man, I'll have to try Palaver is because that's, for me, it's a persistent, it always is running, right?
Right,
so I can scroll back and see previous, things I missed and so forth. So it's very handy.
That is nice. Yeah, because that's one of the things I log in and it's like, well, all that stuff that was there is gone. And I'll go, can you repeat that? Because I saw you said,
Yeah. So that's, people sometimes will use something called a bouncer to do that on IRC. But we don't allow bouncers for a variety of security reasons. So the next best thing would be to have something that's always logged on to chat. I'll tell you what, if you want, I'll give you the super secret login. Oh, no, but then you'll be me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I could set up one for Mikah. And you can SSH to my server and have Micah's chat. I'll set that up for you if you want.
That's interesting.
There's not, this server, I built this thing, and I even did a blog post about it, to run BSD, an operating system, like 3 years ago. And it was top of the line everything, 64 gigs of RAM. It's got, I don't know how many hard drives in it. It's kind of like a Mac Pro, but it's running Linux. Mm-hmm. And so it has a lot of horsepower. And I'm running, Minecraft servers. So I thought I should use this for a few other things, including friends.
I would like to do that.
We'll say, that's good.
Great.
Now, let's talk about real security.
Yeah. Here we go. Pull
That's
that
it right there, baby.
There.
So the very first thing everybody should do, and man, anytime I talk to friends and they're having tech problems, I try to beat this into their head. Mm-hmm. Turn on two-factor authentication. Shall I give you Leo's quick explanation of two-factor?
I think that'd be great.
Okay. So the whole problem, of course, of getting onto a website or using an app, getting into your account anywhere is, or even getting cash out of a cash machine or going to the bank and writing a check, the whole problem of all of that is what we call authentication, proving you are you, right? When the bank knows it's you, they'll give you your money, but until then, they shouldn't. When you're trying to get into our chat server, you want to prove it's you. So there's a few ways to prove you are who you say you are. In the old days, you'd pull out your driver's license with a picture on it, right? We don't do that so much anymore. But that's something you have. That's one of the ways. You can also do something So, for instance, when you log into an ATM machine, you use your card, something you have, but you also use a second factor, something which is your 4-digit PIN, right? So that's two-factor right there at an ATM machine, card plus PIN. The third thing is biometrics, something you are, something something you have, something you are, and that's where Touch ID or Face ID really is great. So if you want to have a secure, for instance, I do banking on my phone, you log into your bank with your phone, and then you can say, and I want you to also do Face ID. And this is in case a bad guy got one of the factors, particularly something your password. They'd have to know something else. They'd have to have access to your phone, or they'd have to have your fingerprint or your face. That's a great big roadblock to bad guys stealing your account. So very important to turn on this two-factor or multi-factor authentication on your most important accounts. Certainly your bank, by far, because that's where your money is, right? Or your brokerage accounts or whatever you have, wherever you keep your money. Certainly your email. That's almost as important.
Yes. Email, so important, because that's where a lot of times you go to reset passwords.
Right. So if I get your Gmail, first thing I do is I go and try to log in as Mikah@gmail.com on every site possible, including banks, credit cards, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Most of the time it's not going to work. Occasionally go, oh, hi, Mikah, what's your password? You type something, it says, no, that's not it. Oh, I forgot. And it says, okay, we'll send you a password reset. If I have Mikah's Gmail, I go, okay, yeah, send me that password reset. Click the link in the Gmail, I'm golden. Not only am I in your account, I've changed your password so you can't get in and block me. That's the first line of defense. Make sure you have two-factor on your email. Gmail supports it. Most email providers now support it. If they don't, maybe go find somewhere more secure.
Please switch away.
Now, there is a form, banks always use this, of two-factor that we don't like. That's text messaging. And the only reason we don't like it is it's possible for somebody to spoof your cell phone number. So there's lots of ways they can do it. They can use social engineering to convince the phone company to send them a SIM. I lost the SIM. I can't get in. Please send it to me. Oh, by the way, I've moved. I'm in Russia now. And you'd be surprised how often that works. There's also other kinds of hacks that can impersonate your phone number. So and banks use it because everybody has it. You don't have to teach somebody a more sophisticated form of two-factor. But you're smart. I'm going to show you a better way. If possible, don't use SMS messaging. If it's the only thing you've got, use it because it's better than nothing. It is a speed bump. And a hacker has to be attacking you specifically because they have to go after your cell phone number. So it's less likely you're going to be prone to any mass attacks anyway. So do it. But if you can, for instance, Twitter for a long time only had two-factor via SMS text messaging. Eventually, they added other methods, but you still needed a phone number, and they still fell back. Anytime it says, oh, you don't have your authenticator app, well, let's send you a text message. Your security is no better than the weakest link. That means it's text message. And so what you want is a system that says, no, we don't use SMS. We only will use other forms of authentication. That's what you're looking for. The most common form of authentication is an app. And they often, and I think wrongly, say use Google Authenticator. That isn't the only authenticator. There are lots of different authenticators. My favorite and one I recommend is called Authy. And I'm going to show you my authentication codes. That's going to scare some of you. But don't worry, because these are only good for 30 seconds. You see the countdown timer? Here's a reason, and you see I have a lot of accounts that I'm using two-factor on. Look at all these accounts. Everything I do, I have two-factor on. Now, here's what happens. When I'm going to log into, let's say my Microsoft account. It will say, all right, I need that 6-digit code from your authenticator. That could be Google Authenticator, could be Microsoft Authenticator, could be LastPass Authenticator, lots of apps. Authy is my favorite. I'll tell you why in a second. You go there, you open the app, and you'll have 30 seconds. This number will change every 30 seconds. You can enter that 6-digit. Now, you actually have more than 30 seconds to enter it. You have more like a minute because they know, well, he saw it. Now it's changed, but the old one, yeah, they're pretty lenient. Where does this number come from? So when I first sign up for Microsoft, it says, and I say, I want to turn on two-factor. It'll say, okay, good. And it'll show on the screen a QR code. And it'll say, use your Authenticator app to scan this QR code. What you're doing is you're getting a secret number. The QR code is just a number, a very long 12 or 13 or 14, 20-digit number. I don't know how long it is, but a very long number that's unique to you. It's like a password. This number, this short 6-digit number, is generated by combining the current time of day with that long secret number to generate a 6-digit number using a mathematical formula. It's a one-way trip. Somebody who has this can't go back and get your secret number. That's good to know. And because it's time-based, it can change every 30 seconds. Now, the bank, or Microsoft in this case, has a clock. They know what time it is. They know what time it is, on my thing. And so they can calculate. They know your secret number. They can also calculate this. So really what you're proving is I have Leo's secret number, and it's current. This is the current time. That means somebody can't just write down, this is why I don't mind showing it, 993-723, and use it tomorrow. It's only good for this very limited period of time. That's a really good thing. So this is Authy. The reason I like Authy is because you create an Authy account, and all of the two factors you set up are stored on Authy's servers, encrypted. Authy's run by a company called Twilio. Very trustworthy, good company. They have other businesses. They do this for their business, but they give away Authy for free. And because I have an account, when I get a new phone, or even a new computer or anything, all I have to do is install the Authy app, log in with my account, and all of these two factors are automatically populated. If you use Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, LastPass Authenticator, it's kind of a pain when you get a new phone. You have to go through the entire process for every single account again. Now, that's more secure, but there's always this trade-off between security and convenience. I think this is a worthwhile trade-off to make. Even if Twilio were to turn out to be a bad company, they're not. They still would only have my secret, authentication code. They wouldn't have my password. So that's why 2 is better than none, or 1. It makes it difficult for somebody to combine both factors to get into your account. So step 1, Authy. That's a pretty good system. If it's allowed, the best way to do it is also, actually Touch ID and fingerprint, or Face ID and face recognition, those are pretty good too. Assuming that the company has done it properly, and Apple has, that's going to be a very good way of proving you are you. So I would say if you can use Face ID, that's preferable to using an authenticator. Let's rank them in order. The worst, SMS. Next best, authenticator app like Authy. Third best, biometrics, Face ID, Touch ID. But the best, because it's so hard to hack, is this. This is called a YubiKey. It's a token. It's a hardware token. And it doesn't have to be from Yubico. It can be from a variety of companies. But the advantage of the YubiKey is a bad guy would actually have to physically have this. So even if they could fake your fingerprint or steal your Authy account, spoof your SMS number, that's a really hard thing. That's why I keep this on my keychain. They'd have to mug me and steal my keys, steal my keychain, and there's no identifying thing on this, so if I dropped it, it still wouldn't be much good to them. So I feel like this is the best way to do it. And if you go to a super secure secret place, what they'll often do is combine all three: password, handprint, iris print, Touch ID, and a physical token. There's a variety of them. You may have seen the cards that rotate numbers. That's a similar idea. When I first set up PayPal, they used to send out something called footballs. This was years ago. Steve Gibson and I both talked about this, and Steve highly recommended it. It was just a little thing you put on your keychain that would generate 6-digit codes, kind of like the time-based one-time authentication here on Authy, but attached to a physical device, which made it even better, right? You could steal my phone, maybe even get into my authenticator, but you'd have to. I'd know if you stole this, and that would give me time to reset it. One piece of advice: if you're going to use a physical token, get 2, put one in a safe deposit box or somewhere, register them both in case you lose one, right? This is a nice one. This is the YubiKey 5CI. It has Type-C on one end and Lightning on the other. So this works with both kinds of mobile devices, iPhones and everything else. It also works on most computers, and you can easily put a Type-A adapter on it, and it will work with all computers. So this is a really good device. Some YubiKey devices have NFC, which is kind of cool.
That's the one I have. It's cheaper than that one.
This one's the most expensive because they have to pay Apple for the use of the Lightning port, unfortunately. But I bought it just so I could show it. And actually, I just use a standard. Most of the time, just use a standard USB key. This is kind of cool. It has these two little capacitive buttons on the side. That's how you trigger it. And the YubiKey was kind of smart. The way they did this, there is some computing power in here. But when you plug this in, it just shows up as a keyboard. So the device you're plugging into thinks you're a keyboard. And then it's typing out a long code, the first part of which identifies this key. In fact, it's written on the back here with a QR code. And the last part of which is a time-based one-time authentication code, just like the one generated by Authy. So those are the most common ways of doing multi-factor authentication. To review, there's 3 ways to authenticate yourself. Something you know, something you have, something you are. Password, authenticator on your phone, or a token on your phone, your fingerprint and Touch ID. Combining more than one is much better. Combining all 3 is the best, but that's a lot of work, and most people don't do it. It's only if you have to go into a, like the silo where they launch nuclear missiles, that kind of place, you would need 3. It's always good to turn this on. It's a little less convenient. Most of the time, when you're authenticating, if you authenticate, say, on a phone or a computer, you'll have the chance to say, I trust this device, and you won't be asked to authenticate again. It's only that first time that you have to do it. Or I trust this browser. It's only that first time. So you won't be always pulling out the key. Once you set up a system with one of these keys or with your fingerprint or Touch ID, you usually don't have to do it again. So that's my pitch. I know it's long and it's complicated. I know a lot of you already do it and understand it. For those that don't, please do. And if you understand it, help a friend. Throw out a lifeline. Teach them how to do it, because it's the #1 way to prevent hacking.
Yes, and so speaking of the what you are part, something that you are, Face ID and Touch ID, there's something I want to touch on based on questions that I've received from family and friends and others about Face ID and Touch ID, and some confusion that still exists, or ignorance. And I don't mean ignorance in a bad way. I mean just literally not knowing that exists because of the technology. It can seem kind of complex. And so with Face ID and Touch ID, something that's very important to understand is that this data is not sent to Apple. It's not sent to third parties. It's not sent anywhere. In fact, it's stored right on the device. And so I'll include in the show notes some links to these pages, but I want to read a little bit about what this says, and it applies to both Face ID and Touch ID. Face ID data, including mathematical representations of your face, is encrypted and protected by the secure enclave. Face ID does update that data, and it must be tied to the passcode in order for the device to be unlocked. If you choose to enroll in Face ID, you can disable it at any time. And if you choose to erase or reset your device, that erases the content of the secure enclave, the Face ID data. So that also applies to Touch ID. The mathematical representations of your fingerprint and the mathematical representations of your face are stored in the secure enclave, which is a special little chip inside of Apple's devices that exists separate from the rest of the device. And so when you are enrolling your face or your fingerprint, that data stays on your device that you have right there and is not exported to any other place. It is, does this match the mathematical representation that's stored in my device? And if so, then I'll let you in. If no, then I won't let you in. But if it's close, if I think it's a close match, and then I type in my password, then I may update that mathematical data to say, okay, next time we do that fingerprint that's very close, that's probably that person. And so we can go ahead and let them into their device. I just think that's an important thing to touch on, because just the other day, I was getting someone set up with Face ID, and they were saying, I don't know if I'm ready for Face ID yet. I don't know if I want to do that. And so I kind of explained how there's nothing to fear but fear itself. No, there's no concern that your face is, from using Face ID, that it's going to be uploaded to some server somewhere, and then Apple is doing those calculations on that end. It's all happening right there on your device.
The short form of this is Apple does it right. And I've asked, Steve Gibson looks at this all the time, our security guru from Security Now, and he agrees. Apple does it right. And that's the good news. You can trust them. And because, this is iOS today, we're all in the safe, warm waters of the Apple ecosystem. You can feel pretty secure in the way Apple thinks about this stuff ahead of time and really does it right. Google does it right, but not all Google phones, Android phones do it right. So it's, Samsung does a good job. They also have a secure enclave. They keep that stuff on device, we're pretty sure. But I would trust Apple. One other thing, you can turn on two-factor with your Apple ID, and I would strongly suggest you do that. But it is going to be annoying initially, partly because Apple does it right. They do it differently from everybody else. There is no authenticator app. You authenticate with another Apple device. It's Apple two-factor is a lot easier if you have more than one Apple device. You can do it with just one, but it's a lot easier if you have two. The way you turn it on, and you can do it on your iPad very quickly and easily. I'll just show you, quickly what you do. You go into the settings. You tap this little gear icon, and you go to the settings, and you tap your name. Now I'm going to hide. Oops. Cancel. Oh, I'm already there. Oh, no. I tap your name, and then you go to password and security. Okay. Now I'm going to hide the phone numbers because you'll have some phone numbers associated with your account. So pay no attention to what's under that hand. But that's not the most important part. Although you do want to have some trusted phone numbers, right? Because that's the way that they can authenticate if you don't have multiple Apple devices or you lose some of them, is they'll make a phone call. An automated phone call. But do turn on two-factor authentication. That's right here. It's a bit of a rigmarole. Apple even does some weird things. For instance, when I first turned it on, they said, well, you've changed your address or some personal information recently, like within the past few weeks, so you have to wait.
Interesting.
I had to wait a month before I could turn on two-factor because this is Apple doing it right. And there's always this trade-off between security and convenience. And whenever I mention things like this to Steve, he says, well, I'm not sure why they do it that way, but there's a reason. They've thought about it. In this case, what if a hacker got your account? The first thing he might do is change your address and phone number, and then go in and try to change two-factor or set up two-factor or play with your password, things like that. So as soon as you change personal information, Apple freezes it. That's to give you time to react in case somebody's got a hold of your stuff. So that's why they do it. It's for a very good reason. But if you go in now and say, I want to turn on two-factor, and Apple says, nope, you got to wait, that's why. Because you've recently changed phone number
that makes
address.
sense.
Yeah.
I gotta give a shout out to my grandma, because I remember being so proud. I had come home after being in Springfield for a long time, and I was helping her with something, and I was walking her through the process. Okay, you need to log into your iCloud account, and then up popped the two-factor authentication prompt, and she went to her iPhone. And she saw the prompt come up and hit accept, or I can't remember exactly what it says.
Yeah.
Allow, yeah. And then typed in the code that came up.
Good.
And I just looked at her.
Grandma, you're so smart.
Oh, my God. I was impressed. I was so impressed. It was amazing.
Impressive.
And I said, because she had created her account before Apple rolled out two-factor authentication.
Yeah, that was fairly recently that they did.
Yeah, which means that she also went in and set it up in the first place. So I was just very proud and excited that she had that all figured out. No big deal. And so, yeah. And you know what? I'm not going to do the ageist thing of saying, if my grandma can figure it out, you can too. That's just to say that these things can be very complex.
Yes, they're challenging.
And challenging to set up. And that's where, that's exactly where I was going. A lot of times you want to blame yourself and say, I've seen this happen so many times. Oh, I'm stupid. I just don't get it.
Right.
No, don't give up. take your time and don't blame yourself. If the technology isn't working for you, that's a failing of the technology. That's something that needs to be improved upon. And don't hesitate to ask for help from folks who understand it or have used it before.
And it goes both ways. Pay it forward. Once you've figured it out, help your friends and family to do this.
Absolutely.
It's so important. And I know this because I'm a little bit on the front lines doing the radio show, and I hear from people all the time who've lost accounts, who've gotten hacked, who've had identity theft, and it's, if you lose, for instance, control of your Apple account, it's a pain to get it back. And you have to jump through a lot of hoops, as you should, because they want you to prove you're not trying to hack somebody. So don't lose it. Make sure you secure it. Turn on that two-factor authentication. You'll be able to get it working. And once you do, and an example of how Apple does it right, they will, when that pop-up says somebody's trying to log in, allow, don't allow, they'll show you a map in that little pop-up of where that login is happening from. So if you look at it and you say, well, I'm not in St. Louis, then don't allow it. That's why they show the map. Is that you? This is coming from, as best we can figure, this is coming from this spot on the map. Sometimes they'll show you that 6-digit code we've been talking about and have you enter it in. In some cases, they do some a little bit strange things because you have to designate which of your devices are going to get that code. I've had it happen that I'm setting up something on a Macintosh and the code pops up on the Macintosh, which is not right.
No.
It should pop up on another device.
Yes.
But Apple, you have to, again, try to put yourself in the mindset of a security researcher. It's going to pop on the devices that Apple knows that you still control, that you are properly set up, that are secure. And it may be the same device you're using, but they have some confidence that that device is secure. So that's why it popped up there. It seems to me they shouldn't even, if they feel that good, they shouldn't even ask. But okay,
right. That would be ideal. Truly,
they're different. I understand again why they're doing it. It's different paths. You're logging into iCloud, for instance, on a browser that you've not used before. They want to validate that browser. They know the hardware you're on is validated, so they can pop up that number. And if you can type it in, you're golden. It all comes down to really Apple, very good security people, thinking very hard about all the avenues for attack and shutting them down. And sometimes it may look a little weird. It does to me. And sometimes it is a bug. There was a bug, I don't know if you remember, where you had to log into your Apple account like 20 times before it would take.
Yes.
That was a bug. They fixed it. But most of the time it's not a bug. And even though it may not make sense, follow along with the procedure. And do turn on two-factor. Don't get to the point where you go, this is so inconvenient, I'm not going to use it. Don't be that. Be a gallant, not a goofus.
There you go. And so that's another thing that I want to talk about. We espouse the benefits of third-party password managers and love third-party password managers and use third-party password managers. But for some folks, those can be complex and it can be hard to figure out, okay, how do I get this to type in my passwords for me? How do I get to those passwords? How does this work? Going in and setting up the autofill and all those kinds of things, it can be kind of complex. And I want to talk about Apple's built-in password manager, which, we ranked earlier with SMS two-factor authentication as the worst thing of the what is it? It's the most of the evils, getting to the lesser of the evils. And same goes with this. It's not as secure as using a third-party password manager in the end because you kind of want to separate.
I'm going to stop you on that.
Okay.
Apple has done keychain right. And if you've turned on two-factor, Apple Keychain is absolutely as robust as any password manager. The big drawback to Apple Keychain is it only works on your Apple devices. So they've made it better and better. And in fact, the rumor is that in iOS 14, it will be a full-blown password manager. So here, I would disagree with you. I would say a keychain is fine. But the problem is people are trusting Safari because Safari uses keychain. That's fine. But if you use any other browser, Firefox, Chrome, Edge, any other browser at all, those are not. And so what you're warning is absolutely the case. Password managers in browsers generally are not very good. Right. Safari is the exception. So don't think because you can do it in Safari And it is convenient, isn't it? If the browser knows all the passwords, you just go click, click, click. It's okay to use Keychain to do that. In my opinion, Keychain is every bit as secure as LastPass, even though it's on the same device, because you're using two-factor. Now, if you're not using two-factor, all bets are off. But if you're using two-factor on your Apple account, Keychain is very, very secure. They really do it right. But don't trust any other browser.
Yeah, seriously, those browser prompts are. In fact, anytime I'm helping a person on their computer, I see that pop up, and it's like, you check the box to say, "Do not suggest passwords." Or
I don't want. Yeah, and that's the problem. Is you're on a Mac, you're using Keychain, it all works, but it only works with Apple products. And so, if you wanted to use Chrome, you need a third-party password manager.
Yeah, that's a good point. So just so you know, turning on iCloud Keychain, we'll include a link in the show notes for that as well, and getting that set up. By doing so, then iPhone, iOS, macOS, they can all start to suggest complex pseudo-random passwords.
That's one of the things they added that I really think makes this almost on parity with a third-party password manager.
Yes.
The Keychain will generate good, strong passwords.
Yes, and it does it sometimes in places where the third-party password managers might not recognize that this is a password field.
Right.
So having that at the OS level can really be beneficial. Now, what you don't want to do is use multiple password managers. So I kind of had to make the choice. Do I want to use iCloud Keychain, or do I want to use whatever password manager that you choose to use? Because of course, the more places that you put those passwords, the more vectors through which you can be sort of attacked.
It's horrible because, well, it's not only that. It's also hard to remember where you put the password.
Yes, if they're all in different places.
As part of my job, I've tested all the password managers. You know, we use LastPass because they're a sponsor, and it's the one I've used for 10 years. But I wanted to know what other password managers are doing. So I've used them all. The problem is when you do that and you try to log in, it's hard to remember where your password's stored.
Yeah. Now, is that an iCloud Keychain? Did I put that in Microsoft?
Pick one and stick with it. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
That's another argument for not using Keychain, iCloud Keychain, is you may not be using non-Apple stuff now, but what if you did? What if down the road you did? Now all your passwords are in Keychain. You got to export them. It's a problem. I think it's a good idea to use the most capable password manager you can, particularly one that works across the board. A lot of people, and we mentioned LastPass, but a lot of people, Mac people especially, because these first appeared on the Mac, use 1Password and Dashlane. Very good. Each of them have their own strengths and weaknesses, but they're fine. There's also one called Bitwarden. A lot of people say, well, I don't want any third party to have my password vault, because that is a potential, as you point out, that's a potential weakness. Now, the way LastPass works in most password managers, they don't have keys. You know, the company can't unlock your vault. So only you can unlock your vault. But if that company were to be breached and the password vaults of all its customers were to be downloaded, a hacker would have time at their leisure to try to unencrypt, to hack.
Over the next 100,000 years.
So you got to use a good master password. That's really important. It can't be one that's easily brute forced. And you want a company that's going to do a lot of things on that vault to protect it. One of the things LastPass does is called PBKDF2, which makes it much harder to do a brute force. It actually slows down the password attempts by such a degree that they can't do it in any reasonable amount of time. So there's things a company can do to harden that password vault. But if you're worried about having your password vault anywhere but in your control, Bitwarden, there's another one called KeePass. There's some good open source solutions that allow you to run your own server. You need a server because unless you want to manually, and you can do this with 1Password, by the way, manually ship your password vault around, keep it in sync, by copying it. It's better to have a cloud server where you can get the stuff from and your machines will all sync up, right? For real security, 1Password says, yeah, if you want, you can either keep your vault on Dropbox, don't give it to us, or keep it on your, device. And when your devices get together, you can sync them. That would be certainly more secure. Bitwarden's nice because you can set up a server. You could do it at DigitalOcean. You could do it at home, which will hold your password vault. And because it's completely open source, No third party would have access to that. And that's kind of good. So there are some other choices. I don't want to imply just because LastPass is our sponsor that there aren't other good choices. There's good reasons why I use LastPass, having tried everything.
Right.
but that's a choice you can make. And the truth, here's the bottom line. Any password manager is better than no password manager.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's the big point that I think you and I are both hammering home.
Right.
So we've talked about, your passwords and how important those are, and making sure that you have good, strong passwords and that you're using two-factor authentication. The next thing and sort of the final thing are some of the third-party apps that you can use in other ways. So that would be virtual private networks, VPNs, and DNS. And I don't even know what to call NextDNS because it's not quite a VPN.
It's not a VPN. In fact, it works very well with a VPN, just in the same way the password manager works well with a VPN, right?
Yeah.
So you should probably have all of the above. So NextDNS is like OpenDNS or Cloudflare. It's a DNS provider that you go through instead of your internet service provider. And because you're doing your DNS,
Oh, I was just going to show.
Oh, you scared me.
Sorry.
You suddenly got really small.
I was just going to show you that you can see here both NextDNS and ExpressVPN can be turned on at the same time.
That's right.
So that's how you can
They're
tell
not
that they
incompatible.
are different. You can use them. Yeah.
You use NextDNS only for DNS lookups, and in that process, they can see where you're going and filter it, get rid of malware and stuff. But ExpressVPN encrypts, or any VPN. ExpressVPN is our sponsor. It's the one we like and use. But there are, just like there are many password managers, there are even more VPN providers. You can even do your own VPN. So the idea of a VPN is,
VPN.
Yeah, I could, but I don't. Steve Gibson does his own.
You got that giant server. Why not?
No, I'll tell you. Oh, that's a good question. Why don't I do my own VPN?
Yeah.
I have the hardware. I have this technology. I could do it myself. I'll explain why I don't in a second. But let's first tell you what a VPN does.
Good idea.
I'm here. I'm sitting in my coffee shop, and I'm, surfing the net, getting my email, doing some banking, doing some shopping. I'm on Wi-Fi, and I'm on a Wi-Fi network that everybody else in the coffee shop's in, right? We all share that network. That means they can see that I'm on the network. Have you ever done that? I used to go to hotels, and I'd look at file sharing, and I'd see 100 iTunes accounts sharing all their music, right? Or 100 other computers. It's kind of So if you're all on the same network, it's just like you're all at home. You're on the same network, and you're vulnerable to a couple of attacks. You're vulnerable to somebody looking at your system, seeing it's there and trying to attack it directly. We're shared on a shared network. You're also vulnerable to somebody seeing what you're sending through the airwaves. They don't even have to join the Wi-Fi network to do that. They can just capture the stuff you're sending and examine it. What a VPN does, it protects your security by encrypting all the traffic coming out of your device through the coffee shop Wi-Fi all the way to the endpoint, which is the VPN server you're logged into. So no bad guy sitting at the coffee shop can grab the packets and see what you're doing. Or even sitting on your curb at home could grab the packets and see what you're doing. That's different from what NextDNS does, which is, well, I don't want to get into that. Let's finish VPNs. It's a different thing, right?
Yeah.
So there are really three reasons you might use a VPN. There's that encrypt my data so nobody can grab it one. And nowadays that's less important because most sites are encrypted already, HTTPS secure. So when you go to Facebook or your bank or Amazon, even if the hacker could grab those packets, they can't do anything with them. They're encrypted. They can see you're on Facebook. They can see you're at Amazon, but they can't do anything with the data you're sending back and forth. So as long as you're on HTTPS sites, which most sites are these days, they still can't steal your stuff. So that's a little less important. But that's only one of the three things they do. There's also a privacy benefit because, unfortunately, internet service providers have a bad habit of looking at what you're doing and selling it to marketers or inserting their own content in. So when you use a VPN, there are two people snooping on you potentially: the hacker sitting next to you in the coffee shop, and whatever internet service provider the coffee shop's using. Or if you're on your cell phone carrier, or if you're home, your home ISP. In all those cases, we know ISPs keep track of what you're doing. Now, NextDNS will help you with that, because NextDNS is hiding your DNS queries. That's the number one way your ISP can see what you're up to. Nevertheless, even with hiding the DNS queries, the ISP can say, oh yeah, he's on Amazon. And that stuff is actually valuable to people. So using a VPN hides that from the internet service provider. So security is number one, privacy is number two. And there's one more thing that you're doing. And this is maybe a little controversial, but you can change your geography. The VPN server you're using is where you emerge into the public internet with their IP address in their location. So when I'll show you right now when I go to ExpressVPN, I can, see this, did you see how it changed? It was Tokyo and now went to smart location. By default, if I just connect it right now, it's going to go to the nearest ExpressVPN server. That's for speed. But I don't have to go to that server. ExpressVPN, and all VPNs are somewhat like this, have servers all over the world. And I can emerge, if I want to emerge onto the public internet from Kyrgyzstan, I can. Now, I don't know why you would want to emerge from Kyrgyzstan, but you can. And if I am at that point logged into Netflix or Hulu or the BBC, they think I'm in Kyrgyzstan. Notice how long it's taking to connect. It's not necessarily going to be the fastest place to connect to, but I chose it for that reason. Oh, now I'm on. So now if I look at my IP address, it's going to be from Kyrgyzstan. And every site I go to is going to say, oh, you're in Kyrgyzstan. Now, this can be potentially problematic. If I were to go to Facebook right now, it might fire up a security warning, and it might even block me saying somebody's trying to get into your account from Kyrgyzstan. So be aware of that. Be aware of that. But it also, and this is the benefit sometimes people have, you could look at media content from that area. Probably Kyrgyzstan Netflix is not the best Netflix in the world, so I'm probably not going to be doing that. But you might want to go to London and watch British Netflix or the BBC iPlayer.
Yes. In fact, it let me, because I had to create an account. So there, really quickly, there's a show on Netflix called The Circle, and it was trash TV, but it was amazing. I loved it. And it was in the UK before it was ever in the United States. And so in order to watch the UK version, you had to be able to have a BBC account. And shockingly, using ExpressVPN to put my location in London, I was then able to use a McDonald's in Aylesbury, Buckinghamshire, London as my address, and it let me create an account to watch trash TV from the UK. Now, I will say, folks, for everybody out there who's grumbling, I had to watch all the ads that the BBC iPlayer showed. So, and they have some pretty good ads, actually. I was impressed.
So, look, you may be violating terms of service. That's up to you. I actually inquired of Netflix. They said, yeah, we discourage it, but not because it's illegal. If you have a Netflix account and you're a paid Netflix subscriber in the U.S. and you want to watch Netflix in the U.K., you just be logged into Netflix, fire up ExpressVPN or any VPN server with a British endpoint. You're there, and now refresh Netflix. You'll see all the Netflix stuff from the UK. So, and Netflix said, that's fine. It's not illegal. It's not, we don't forbid it. The only reason we discourage it is because most of the time your performance isn't going to be very good and you're going to have a terrible video experience. That's one of the advantages of ExpressVPN and a good, we keep saying ExpressVPN because that's the one we use and that's our sponsor, but any good VPN will do that. That's one of the main reasons privacy and eliminating geographic restrictions are the two reasons you don't use or may not want to use your home server. So privacy is number one. If I'm using my home server from Starbucks, yes, I'm private in Starbucks, and the Starbucks ISP doesn't see what I'm doing, but my home ISP does because I'm going through my server at home. Plus, I can't emerge on the internet anywhere but my home. So if you want to save money, I wouldn't use a free VPN service. Those guys are sketch. Because they're monetizing somehow. If you want to save money, many routers can be a VPN. So there's two things. There's the client, which is this on my iPad, and then there's a server you have to log into. You can run your own server on many routers. You can set your own server up. You can use pfSense, or there's lots of ways to do this for free. But just be aware that your location is now wherever that server lives. And so if you're worried about your ISP sniffing your traffic, you're not going to save yourself because you're emerging into the internet from your home instead of from the Starbucks. So that's there's another reason I don't do it. Steve Gibson's pretty sophisticated. He can set up and run a VPN and not allow any flaws in it. But often it's the case that even if you know how to run a server, for instance, a password vault server of your own, I trust LastPass because it's their job to keep it secure.
You've got a bunch of other.
Yeah, I trust. I'm not a security guru. I'm not a VPN guru. I'm not a password guru. So I trust that their servers are hardened, they're protected, they're in network operations centers that have air conditioning and power support. There's a lot of reasons why you might want to use a third party. You can save money doing it yourself, but you're not going to save time, and you may be making a security mistake because you are not a security guru. So setting up your own server is, for most people, an exercise in fun and an educational exercise. But in most cases, using a commercial service is probably the best idea, even with a VPN. So that's why I don't run a VPN. There's 3 good reasons, I think. And ExpressVPN is fairly cheap. They're a sponsor, so we're happy to use them. Yes. So we talked about two-factor, turning it on. We talked about password managers. We talked about VPNs and NextDNS. There's one more thing we should talk about. What if you wanted to use an ad blocker on iOS?
Aha! Content blockers. Yes. So the one
that's a security issue, by the way. It's not merely not wanting to see ads.
Can block trackers. It can block.
A lot of ads have security flaws in them. Yeah, because of these automated services. So you may be protecting yourself as much as anything else. Yes.
Now, don't freak out, Leo. It's going to be okay here as we.
He's going to press that button.
So this is one blocker. And one blocker has multiple types of blocks that are available. You can see there are 123,000 rules in one blocker right now. Ad blocking, tracker blocking, annoyance blocking, like cookies, cryptocurrency mining, where they use your devices to mine cryptocurrency while you're on the site, mobile app banners and things like that. Certain widgets, so like share sheets and other social media widgets, which also are often trackers. And then things like adult sites and comments. I find that sometimes those will, depending, all throughout these different sites or different trackers and blockers can cause issues. And so this one's a little bit finicky because of the fact that it has so many different rules that are available. But you can see here on the right that you can go through and turn on and off. And these might look a little confusing to you. They certainly did to me at first, but this is sort of code for saying any URL that looks like this, that matches these certain aspects, and then has this specific code in it at this point, is a URL that needs to be blocked.
I don't have to do that, do I?
No, these are all automatic. There are 123,000 rules that were loaded automatically. I do have some custom rules that I set up.
Oh, you do? You are sophisticated. I've never done that. I just use the built-in stuff.
So there's some sites that'll do that. Hey, you're a bad person because you're blocking our trackers. Oh. And so I was curious if I could figure out how to make those go away on certain sites. And I was able to work that out in some ways. Oh. So yeah, it was kind of fun just as an experiment. And the thing that I like about the one blocker and other applications that exist on your iOS devices is if they are content blockers for Safari. And let me see, I want to find the page so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm going to switch back. Content blockers within general. I'll tap on that, and you can see these are the different one blocker content blocking things. The app walks you through how to enable it. You enable all of them by default in here, and then in the app you can choose which ones you actually want to use by using the switches there. So this just kind of says these are all available to Safari to use if I want to, and then I can turn those on and off within the app. But you can see that this is a very specific type of content blocker. What's awesome about content blocking on iOS is that it blocks those different URLs or whatever it happens to be from loading at all when you visit a page, versus on the desktop, a lot of times when you're using browser-based blocking content blockers, it loads all of that stuff and then removes the elements from the page. So a lot of it's still getting loaded. You just don't see it at that point. And I think that's the big difference. That's the big sort of separation between these built-in content blockers that really stop the stuff from being loaded. So the page is a lot faster to load and it's not taking up as much battery power. It's a really powerful way of content blocking that you don't get with some of the blocking applications that are built into, or that you can download for Chrome and things like that. And I think that's the big distinction there that makes these so powerful.
Nice. And the one you're using is Wiper? Is that the one you use?
No, one blocker.
One blocker. Because there are a variety of them. There's Crystal. On the Mac, I think it's Wiper, W-I-P-R. I don't know if that's on iOS.
There's one called Better that I used to use. There are loads of them. If you type in content blocker on the App Store, you'll see a lot. Yeah, Better Blocker. It is a really good one. It's
one of these days I should do an app cap on Firefox Focus, F-O-C-O-S, which is a version of Firefox that has all of that built in for iOS. And you can, if you install it, and you want to use Safari, you can turn on all of the blocking in Firefox Focus as your ad blocker. So it will block, if you're using Focus, you have a little more privacy, but if you're using Safari, and you can't help it most of the time because it's the default browser and you can't change that in iOS, at least for now, although
so it serves as both a content blocker and a browser.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, F-O-C-O-S. Yeah, Firefox.
Let me share that in the show notes so we can make sure, folks. Now, I'm seeing F-O-C-U-S.
Oh, maybe I'm spelling it wrong. All right. I don't know why I thought it was Focus.
There's an app called Focus, F-O-C-O-S.
Maybe that's what I'm confusing it with, the photo app called Focus. Yeah, Firefox Focus. Makes more sense that spell it right. Why spell it wrong?
Why spell it wrong when you can spell it right?
Yeah, it is spelled Focus. And it's automatically blocks ads. It's a private. All trackers are blocked. Unlike the regular Firefox, which is also available on iOS, this one is even more aggressive about that. So I guess they give you a choice that way. And then if you install it, you go to your that content blocking section on your device. So this is Focus, but now if I go to the walk me through that again. Is it Safari?
Yeah, go to Safari, and then scroll down to Content Blockers. There it is, and then turn on
this one
for Firefox Focus. Yeah. That's awesome.
Isn't that cool? So you see, I also use one blocker. I like the granularity one blocker offers, so you can choose what you want to block and not. I've also used Crystal. Probably, I don't know, probably not a good idea to turn everything on.
No, yeah, you end up getting pages that just don't load properly.
I don't know what you're doing, but I don't like it. So pick the one you want. I've been very happy with that Focus.
Yeah, that's cool. I am going to have to turn that one on for sure, or check that one out. Right.
You know, some of them are free. Focus is free. I don't think one blocker's free.
No, it does. You can use a lot of the stuff for free to do custom stuff like I was doing. That's where it costs.
The fancy stuff costs you money. Of course, always.
As it were. So I mean that rounds us out on privacy and security. I think the big thing is taking control and being aware of what all you can do on iOS. iOS provides the tools. They can just be kind of hard to get to at times, or you may skip over them not realizing what they are or how they work for you. So we'll include links to these different things that we've talked about in the show notes, so you can check this out and sort of empower yourselves and take more control of your privacy and security. Because as iOS users, you are already, I think, way ahead of the game. Yeah, exactly.
So why not go all the way? Speaking of being all you can be, I got to show you this. I'm excited. It's Manscaped time.
It's time.
This is a touchy subject, both figuratively and literally. But gentlemen and ladies who have gentlemen, we're all at home. We're not, we're not getting haircuts. We're not getting our noses waxed. But you don't want to let the grooming go to heck, do you? No.
No.
And this is something I had a little heart-to-heart with my son when he was in high school. I said, "Now, Henry, you're going to be starting to date soon, and I'm going to tell you something I've learned about dating, is that good grooming goes a long way." Now, Henry's a good-looking guy, but I'm not such a good-looking guy, so I always had to do the extra effort. You brush your teeth, you comb your hair, and you manscape. Let me show you. This is the, I love this. This is the Perfect Package 3.0. This is fresh and
pun intended.
Unopened. The Perfect Package. So let me pull your string here and open this up and show you what you get. And this, by the way, I'd highly recommend. If you're going to get started manscaping, you start with this, because you know who will thank you. So this comes with some really nice extra stuff, including this really nice
bag. Is so nice.
Isn't that great? This now in my generation we call these a dop kit. You probably
That's what I call it.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if
it's a dop kit.
You're an old man who's young.
Yeah.
You're an old soul. But it's a shaving kit. It's where you put your essentials, your toothbrush and stuff when you travel. This is a really nice one. One of the nicest ones I've ever seen. It's got a nice hook. You can hang it on the bathroom
smells
door.
Good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it smells great because it's refined. You also get extra. Read all about it. We save.
Those are disposable papers that you lay down on the floor whenever you manscape. So
I thought it was just a little light reading.
No. You have several of those.
I am glad to know this, because there is sometimes, the first time especially,
yes,
there's quite a bit of detritus.
There you go, detritus. Yeah, I was going to say, once you're in upkeep mode, it's not as much,
so
but
bad.
To lay one of those down on the floor,
Okay, so the first time, okay, don't laugh at me. First time I did this, I did it outside.
What?
Oh, so that the hair would blow in my backyard where no one could see. So the hair would blow to the wind. But that's probably not a good idea either. Put down a paper. Are you? Okay, well, I didn't know any better. I've learned since then I'm a much better manscaper, and my son is really good at this. So
you got confused because it's called a lawnmower. You thought you needed to do it outside.
Yeah.
I get it.
This is the new Lawnmower 3.0. This is freaking amazing. It is really the kind of the crown jewel, if you will, of the family jewels in the Manscaped lineup, because it is the best clipper I have ever used. Have you used this yet?
Yes.
What do you think? 7,000 RPM.
Woo! 7,000 RPM
makes a huge difference.
Ceramic blade.
Which, by the way, you get replacements for every 3 months, which is really nice. And this is nice, too. You can adjust the guide. It comes off for cleaning, but you can adjust it so that you don't have to. And I'm not one of those right down to the skin kind of guys.
Bald.
I don't want to be bald. So I keep it up at the 0 or 1 setting. So it just cleans you up. Now, the other thing is, because it's 7,000 RPM and this is so nicely engineered, it's quiet. Listen. Mm-hmm. You would never even know. And did you notice that? Little LED light that lights up. So you don't have to guess. Guessing's bad in this business.
Yes, it is very bad to guess.
I'm holding it right up to the microphone. It's very quiet. That's 7,000 RPMs for you. This is the best clipper I've ever used. And I didn't even show you my second favorite part. It's got a charging stand. So you put this in the charging stand. So it's always ready to go, right? The light's always bright. The clippers.
Wireless.
Yeah, wireless.
For maneuverability.
For maneuverability. If you know what I mean. It's very important. You don't do not skimp when it comes to down there. You want to, when it comes to the hair down there, you want to get good care of yourself. You also get these lovely Manscaped, just a sample of the Manscaped boxer briefs. Mm-hmm. So you get the Shed travel bag, that's a $39 value. You get the high performance anti-chafing Manscaped boxer briefs. There is a mistake made in this box. It's size M.
Oh. Well, I got size
I must have
L,
yours.
so maybe we need to swap. Yeah.
L for Leo, M for Mikah, okay?
I was just complaining last night.
Mine
I
are
got
a little
the size
big.
L.
I'll save these for you.
There we go. We'll switch them.
Swap. Boxer swap. And then, by the way, chafing is also an issue, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
So let's not forget about the crop preserver.
You know what? The puns, I think they're incredible.
I actually really
we're
love them.
leaning in. We got to lean in.
If you're gonna manscape, got to lean in. There's the crop preserver, and there's the reviver, and these are essential to avoid chafing, and so that you're always smelling lovely. You put deodorant on your armpits, right?
Right.
Right. So how about an anti-chafing deodorant for down there, right? And it's a moisturizer too, by the way.
The one on the left, the preserver, is a lotion. So after you do your manscaping, you rub that on the jewels and keeps everything nice and moisturized.
Oh, it's nice. Fresh. You know, it's nice. It's a masculine kind of a citrusy. Lisa's very sensitive to colognes. I don't wear cologne, but this is like the kind of smell. It's like you smell like a pine tree.
Yes.
That's okay, right?
Yeah.
Your twigs and berries could smell like a pine tree.
Pine tree, exactly.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with that. No.
And then what's that, the reviver? Is that what it's called again?
This is the reviver. Yes.
That is, sort of,
a toner.
Yeah, I need to go in and have a little spritz or a spray every once in a while.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think. You're on a date. Yeah, you're on a date. You get to your place. You just run in and you just get a little spritz, a little toner.
A little revive.
A little reviver. Now, by the way, you're going to say, a lot of you, I'm married. I don't need this stuff. Guys, you need it more than anybody. Take my word for it. Keep your marriage happy. Keep your friends, your close personal friends, enjoying the benefits of your company. If you know what I mean. Below the waist grooming. You're spending a lot of time with your significant other right now. Shouldn't you? Don't you owe it to them to be the best, to be all that you can be?
And I want to mention, it's not just below the waist grooming that they do.
Oh, no. Oh, I love that.
I just ordered these. I ordered them. It wasn't something they sent to me.
I want to order that too. Yeah, because I am not getting manicures.
Beautiful leather case.
Look
and
at that.
Inside, we've got a nice pair of clippers that are very sharp. I've tested them. A little nail cleaner and file. Some tweezers so you can keep those eyebrows nice and fresh. Some scissors that have a safety tip on the end so you can do little trimmings that keep things clean. And then for those of you who are not risk averse, let me see if I can, it's mirrored so it's hard for me to get to it. For those of you who are not risk averse, you can use what's called an ear spoon. Which is to clean wax out of your ear. Be very careful with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really, that's really old school. That's like see, you are an old soul. You would, of course, gravitate to that. That's the kind of thing a gentleman with a valet would have,
Yes.
Oh, sir, don't forget your ear spoon. Shall I do it for you, sir? No, I'll take care of this, Jeeves. This is the way life should be. Luxurious, but not expensive. The crop preserver, the toner, the Manscaped boxer briefs, the Shed travel bag, and of course your Lawnmower 3.0. Incredible and it's subscribed, by the way, and you'll get new blades every 3 months. And that's important because it not only keeps your trimmer fresh and clean, it keeps it sharp, and that means less pulling, and that's kind of what you want. Do yourself a favor. Use the right tools for the job. Works under the arms, too, really nicely. Really nicely. I don't want to have... I'm not looking for bare underarms, but I don't want to look like ZZ Top.
Amen.
If you know what I'm saying.
If I can braid my underarms, we've
that's
got a problem.
not good.
Yeah.
So just a little. It's a little grooming. We're not talking. We're not talking going crazy here. We're just talking looking like you take care of yourself. That's so important.
Yeah.
A lot of people loading up on toilet paper these days. Not me. I'm loading up on manscaping. Get 20% off. 20% off, and free shipping. Manscaped.com, but you got to use the code iOS. And by the way, Father's Day is coming up. This is such a great company because they take care of men. There's 1,000 places women can go for all of this stuff. We need a place, guys, and we've got it. A place where you can save your stuff. Take care of your stuff. I have to say, I was thrilled when they came to us. And I'm glad to be able to share this with you. Manscaped, MANSCAPED, manscaped.com. Use the code iOS. Keep your relationship clean during this quarantine. 20% off plus free shipping. Manscaped.com. Code iOS. Your partner, your body, and your berries will thank you. Oh, Manscaped. I love you, Manscaped. Thank you very, very much. We smell good, but, in quarantine, you can't tell. But
smell good, feel good.
Yeah. Even if you're alone in quarantine, I think for your own mental health, keeping yourself up is kind of important. Uh-huh. You just feel better.
You do feel. I mean, we talked about that
in the morning.
Getting dressed. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Keeping that routine can be very helpful mentally. All righty. Thank you, Manscaped. It is time to move on to the news.
News with Mr. Mikey Sargent.
That's me. So it was funny. Last week, Wednesday, I sent a Slack message to Mr. Leo Laporte and said, The Magic Keyboard for iPad is here. I'm ordering one. You should order one too. And then shortly after that, I said, you know what? It's kind of annoying they came out with all of this stuff on Wednesday, a day after we recorded iOS Today.
I know.
So here we are. It's the next episode of iOS Today. The iPhone SE is here. The Magic Keyboard for iPad is here, released earlier than we expected. Let's talk about them. So first, of course, we'll kind of hit the Magic Keyboard for iPad. This is the device that offers both a keyboard and trackpad for the iPad. iPadOS has been updated to offer trackpad support, but also a design that floats the iPad above the keyboard, which is new.
I cannot wait. We're getting ours Thursday, right? Friday? This week?
This week sometime. Yeah. What's the status of your order? Because mine still says preparing to ship.
Yeah, mine too.
But Matthew Casanelli's is already on its way.
Some people already have some. I've seen some reviews.
I've seen some reviews.
Yeah.
I'm going, what about me? What about me?
Well, we'll get it. I ordered it as soon as you pinged me. You ordered it even sooner, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was pressing the order and sent you the link at the same time.
So we'll get it.
We'll get them.
And the good news is it doesn't cost quite as much as an iPhone SE.
Okay, so that's the other thing too. When you combine, and again, this is why I love my 11-inch iPad Pro. When you combine the 12.9-inch iPad Pro with the new Magic Keyboard for iPad, you get a device that is heavier than the new MacBook Air.
What?
So the MacBook Air,
it's that heavy?
It's heavier, than the new MacBook Air. The two of them together.
God, so if you want touch, I would say it's a little faster than the new MacBook Air probably. But it does different things. So
yeah.
So if you want touch, maybe a little more speed, and you don't mind a few extra ounces. Wow. It is roughly the same keyboard as the MacBook Air, I understand. Not exactly, but roughly the same.
Yeah.
It's the Magic.
Trackpad's not going to be as good as what's on the MacBook Air. is, it's
smaller for one thing.
It's smaller, yeah. And it's a new technology
the other thing
that's
I
made
miss,
for iPadOS.
And maybe I'm not going to miss it, but I feel like I might. There is no function bar, no function keys, and there's no escape key.
Wait, I didn't know it didn't have an escape key.
Yeah, I mean, well, nor does the smart keyboard, but
that's true. That's true.
And so there isn't a function for escape. I mean, I would use it because I'm doing crazy things on my Mac, like SSHing into my server and running Emacs. But I guess, you could map it to another key, and I guess most iPad users don't need an escape key. That's kind of an old-fashioned key. It's like saying, well, I don't know. Where's the print screen key? I mean,
why don't I have an eject button?
Where's my scroll lock? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a vestigial key, but it just kind of, it's like, I'm an old guy. I miss my escape key.
Comforting.
And I think it'd be nice to have the function key row. And they even have enough room for it. But they decided not to do it, I guess, because they're doing this more modern. So there are some sacrifices. It isn't a Mac.
It is
book.
Not, yeah.
It's
if you're after a
iOS
MacBook,
device.
you should get a MacBook for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're both excited about it.
We'll
Whenever
give you
it
our
does
review.
get here.
It is the whole idea of this is it is making, finally making the iPad a first-class computing device. Thanks to the iOS 11.3 that has this trackpad and the mouse support, the cursor support. And there is another story, and it's a rumor. Mm-hmm. But according to Jon Prosser, who was right on about the SE, right?
Yes.
He knew every detail of the SE release, down to the fact that it was going to come out Wednesday. He even said that. So he is now saying, well, to read his tweet.
Yeah, okay. I will open up the tweet here. Jon Prosser says, right. I'm not going to say that Final Cut is coming to iPad, ... but Xcode is present on iOS/iPadOS 14, eyes emoji. The implications there are huge. It opens the door for pro applications to come to iPad. I mentioned this last week on a live stream, but figured it was worth the tweet. Shruggy emoji.
So, boy, that is a big deal.
Yeah, Xcode on iPad OS has been something that developers have been screaming about for a while. And that's, the implications there for me are not Xcode itself, because I don't do a lot of app development, but the option for other pro apps to come to iPad OS is what makes this next level. Editing video on the iPad is already, for me, better on iPad than it is on Mac OS in many ways. And so to be able to do Final Cut Pro editing on an iPad would be just beautiful and wonderful. And I would love to see that happen. So my fingers are crossed that this is sort of writing on the wall for other applications.
Well, and I'm a coder. And one of the things I've always said, I don't use Xcode, but one of the things I've always said is that you cannot make iOS your default operating system if you don't have a way to develop apps for iOS. Right? That as long as you can't develop on iOS, you have to have Mac OS. If you put Xcode on iOS and it's full featured, that actually, the reason that's important is it could be the beginning of the end for Mac OS. And certainly Final Cut, I don't know why Prosser mentioned Final Cut, because the rumor really he was spreading was all about, or unless he was implying that maybe it's also coming. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the sort of overall narrative that pro apps don't exist on the iPad. And so,
well, Xcode is the first pro app you gotta have.
Yeah. And for him, I think he's a YouTuber first, isn't he? So Final Cut Pro on the iPad would mean more to him than some other things.
Than an Xcode. He may not be a coder at all. But Xcode is a big jump. By the way, I just checked my order and it's preparing to ship.
Awesome. So we're both in the same place.
But
there,
this morning they charged my card.
Aha.
So that's usually a sign that they're putting it in a box. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see an email from FedEx or UPS.
Yeah. I mean, Apple always does this where they give you a very wide window, April 24th through May 1st. That's a full week. But they almost always deliver it that first date, and that's this. That's this Friday, I think. So.
Yeah, I think we'll see it Friday.
Yeah. And which means we'll have it for next iOS today, and we can show you. We'll start using them.
Show off our two different sizes of it. And Logitech has released a keyboard for the iPad Pro.
Is it as heavy?
I don't think it's as heavy. It's called the Logitech Combo Touch keyboard case with trackpad. That's a very long name, but it works with older iPads, of course. So you can use it. It has the smart connector.
Oh, interesting.
It's $149.99. Here, I'll put it in the chat for folks to check out if they want to. I saw some people. Dan Morin on Twitter was reviewing it. It's got a precise trackpad, which is good to offer that functionality. And Leo.
What?
It's got a function row.
Oh, does it have an escape key? Probably not, because that's a meaningless key on iOS.
Button. The escape key is replaced by the home button.
Yeah.
But it's got brightness settings, bring up and down the software keyboard, search. Wow, I'm kind of digging this. Also, it's a backlit display or backlit keyboard.
So's the Apple. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's right. One thing actually has always driven me crazy about the smart keyboard is I can't use it in the dark. And this is, of all the devices, much more than a laptop, an iPad is something I would use in the dark.
Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah. At night, or in bed. Anyway.
It's got 4 different modes.
These are rumors. The Logitech is real. There's one other rumor that there will be an iPhone SE Plus. Although the latest I've seen is that it might be delayed, so due to COVID. I think I'm going to get an SE because I think that's really that's the phone of choice for most people. Remember the XR? That was the best-selling iPhone. The SE is consistently sold well. They haven't updated it in a while. You get the guts of a modern iPhone 11. But you get the form factor of an iPhone 8. It's 4.7 inches, and I still think there's considerable demand for smaller phones, Touch ID,
affordable,
and a price, $400 starting price, still not cheap.
No.
But boy, a whole lot better. It's half what the iPhone 11 is. So I think this is an exciting product. I think Apple's going to sell a lot of them. And I'm pleased that they were able to get it out despite what must have been a big manufacturing delay out of China.
Yeah, it's got a single camera lens, so you're working with one camera as opposed to 2 or 3. But despite that, they do a lot of stuff with the image signal processor. That's all been updated. For folks who still love having the home button, this is the most recent device, so you get all the great power but still get to keep that home button form factor. So this is really, a modern phone at a really good price that gives you, as Apple even puts in there in its press release, everything Apple has to offer. So you're not sort of giving up on all of that functionality. Starts at $399. And you can get the iPhone for $9.54 a month, or $229 with a trade-in via Apple's sort of trade-in and upgrade policies. So
it's rare that you can say, "Oh, this is an affordable Apple device." Honestly, look at the keyboard. But that is a good deal, and I think increasingly. And by the way, I'm not just saying this on iOS today. I've said it on other shows as well. I'm reluctant to recommend Android because of all the security issues. We just know that Apple does security and privacy right. And so for most people, when they ask me, I think the iPhone is the right choice. But it's always been hard to recommend an $800 phone. Now it's a little more reasonable. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. The Product Red phone, if you
that's
go
the
for
one
that,
I want.
There you go. Black display with the red back. And right now, Apple is donating, the Red Corporation or group is donating a portion of the proceeds to COVID-19 as opposed to all to AIDS research. Nice. So, you're helping out with current crises as well. That is, there you go.
There are some rumors that not only will the iPhone SE Plus be delayed, but Mac Rumors is now saying, according to a Chinese language report in the United Daily News by an analyst named Jeff Pugh, that the next generation iPad Pro will be delayed, the one with 5G and the mini LED display, until next year.
You know what? That's fine. Can we slow down on updating iPad Pros?
I just spent a lot of money on this baby. I don't know if I want to buy another one. And this, it's funny that the new iPad Pro is such a minor upgrade from the old one. And 5G, I don't think is going to be anything worth going crazy about for some time. Most areas just don't have it. So I think we can live without that for a little longer.
Seriously, it's going to be fine, Apple. I don't understand.
No
you
rush.
Shouldn't have upgraded so soon if you were going to be upgrading again.
No rush.
Yeah, let's just take a break there. Breathe in, breathe out. Bloomberg put out a report. I think this was a couple days ago. I'm trying to find my tab now. I've got so many tabs open. Where is it? About a new pair of high-end headphones that have magnetic interchangeable parts. So this is kind of interesting. Mark Gurman and Debbie Wu over at Bloomberg on the 16th of April. A pair of over-ear wireless headphones with parts that can be swapped in and out to sort of join the AirPods business with a high-end audio product. As if AirPods Pro weren't already high-end, at least on the price factor.
Again, I just bought the AirPods Pro. Do you have to do one so quick?
So this will include a premium version that has leather-like fabrics and a fitness-focused model that uses lighter, breathable materials. Now, it says the prototypes have a retro look with oval-shaped ear cups that swivel.
Oh, these are over-the-ear. These are the over-the-ear ones. These aren't AirPods. Yeah. Actually, swappable parts in the AirPods might be a little challenging. They're so small.
Yeah.
You don't want to loose them in your ear. Okay.
The ear pads and headband padding attached to the frame of the headphones magnetically so they can be replaced by the user. So they said this is similar to what Master and Dynamic and Bowers and Wilkins offer. But they just have magnetic ear pads, not also the head or the headband, which apparently can be
headphones. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, cool.
Of course, Apple declined to comment on it, but this is part of an overall look at things where it seems that Apple is kind of phasing out the Beats brand and bringing all of those premium headphones into Apple's scope. Yeah,
that would be quite the shock.
The guy. The person that was running Beats is out at Apple now, and the person in charge of, I believe, AirPods and that scope is now taking over for the Beats brand. Well, so I wouldn't be surprised if that goes.
And Jimmy Iovine has a new startup. You know, he's no longer. He left Apple a while ago, as did Dr. Dre, the two founders of Beats. Dre probably doesn't need a new startup. He's got a record business to keep up, but Jimmy's got a new startup. So,
other things to do. He
and Pitbull.
Oh no.
And others. It's
Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, they have created a gaming company, an LA esports company called FaZe Clan.
Esports.
Oh wait a minute, Oh no, I'm sorry. They didn't create FaZe Clan. They've invested $40 million in FaZe Clan. Esports is the next big thing, I guess.
Hasn't it kind of been that?
Yeah. Yeah, but now that we're all stuck at home, might even be bigger.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I know I like to watch people play Animal Crossing because I can't play it myself because I was a responsible
Can you watch
fool.
people play?
Yeah.
On Twitch?
Yeah, on Twitch.
Is that satisfying?
No, it just breaks my heart over and over again.
You know what?
But
it's
I'm
worse
husk,
for me.
Leo, I'm a husk of what I once was.
It's worse for me because I'm this close.
Yeah, you literally have one in your house.
Michael has a Switch with Animal Crossing on it. And he says, I don't want you to play it. It takes too much time. I'll never get my Switch back.
And you say, wait, that's what I'm saying to you because it's my Switch.
Really? It's my Switch. I bought it, baby. Okay, it's okay.
You're just going to have to.
It's okay. I don't want to be that guy.
That guy who really just wants to play Animal Crossing, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Although we might lose you if you go into.
I know.
Fall into an Animal Crossing.
Another reason not to be that guy. I also don't want Michael to go into therapy in 20 years saying, my stepfather, he stole my Animal Crossing. I never got over it.
But there's also the VR headset. Come on.
He's got all of those too.
Yeah.
But on the upside, I can watch him play the new Half-Life Alyx. I can watch him play.
You've got sewing to do. It's fine.
I do. I have sewing to do. I made another mask last night. trying to perfect my design.
I love the lip ones Lisa has. Those are
man,
hilarious.
if I could make those, but those are fancy designer. She's got designer masks.
Oh, I thought you made the lip ones.
No, I wish I could have taken credit for that, but no, that's a famous designer. I wish I could remember her name, but I don't.
Lisa Frank.
Not that one. No. It's Moshi. Moshi, something like that.
Oh, okay.
I can't. It's Laura Moshi, I think it is. Does that make
Yeah, I think she's Italian.
Sound?
Yeah, it does.
Lauren Moshi. Women's lifestyle clothing and art made in L.A.
Oh, it's L.A. Okay.
Yeah, that's where she so in fact I'll show you because Lisa got the t-shirt.
Oh, it was a T that she turned into.
No. And then she got the matching mask.
Oh, my God. Well, I'll be.
Well, I'll be diggity danged. Here's the whole Lauren Moshi mask lineup if you're curious. Lisa has the lips. But see, they match the T-shirt.
Okay, so you can do both.
Yeah. And,
Gotcha.
Lauren apparently hand paints those. That's why they're $40.
Uh-huh.
You know what? Lisa looks great in those shirts, so I'm not complaining. And didn't you think that mask was awesome?
Yeah, that's a very cool mask.
Yeah. So there.
Very well. Another thing, and I want to mention this because sometimes I am aware of how U.S.
Now you know why I manscape.
I'm aware of how U.S.-centric us Americans can be. And so I just wanted to mention Apple, something that I just had kind of taken for granted. The App Store and Apple Music and Apple Arcade and these different services are not available in every country. But Apple just announced that the App Store, Apple Arcade, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and iCloud are now available in 20 additional countries, and Apple Music is available in 52 additional countries. So that includes Africa, some places in Africa, including the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Libya, Asia Pacific, including the Maldives, Europe, including Bosnia and Georgia, the Middle East, including Afghanistan and Iraq, and Oceania, including Tonga and Vanuatu, and many more places. Oh, Vanuatu. Thank you. Vanuatu. And so, yeah, I think that's great that it's been launched in those places. And also, it was just a reminder to me that, I've had these forever. And I kind of take for granted outside of, it'll eventually come to Canada.
Right. I do feel that way. We have to apologize. We have a lot of international listeners. A third of our audience is outside the U.S. And it's hard not to become U.S.-centric, especially at this time. I mean, really, the limits of most of our lives are our four walls. Exactly. So the fact that we're even U.S.-centric is pretty impressive. It really should be Mikah's house-centric. But it is kind of unfortunately, it's not an occupational hazard, a residential hazard for Americans. So, and I've actually even wondered, because you don't hear a lot of international news about how other countries are doing in this crisis. And I kind of want to know more how our friends are doing around the world.
Yeah.
So we hope you're all staying safe, and we will endeavor to be less chauvinistic in the future. See, I used a French word. How about that?
And then I've just done a thing that French people probably hate.
Never do. Yeah. No.
A couple of other things. AirPods Pro, they're now ear tips available for sale. They are not
I lost my
$25.
Oh,
did you?
Yeah, I mean, they comes with a set of different sizes, and I wanted Lisa to try it, and she's got little ears. So I couldn't find my little ear ones, so maybe I'll buy some.
They're available for $7.99. You get 2 sets of whichever size you want. So that's quite nice that you get 2 sets of small, medium, or large. You kind of get to choose which ones. So $7.99 from the Apple Store. They're available.
Nice.
There's an excellent, and if you wouldn't mind opening this up, Leo, it's in the Notion.
Yes.
An excellent article from the folks who make the, Halide app. And they're are
good
looking,
writers too. They did a really good piece on how Halide works, and why it's a better camera app and all of that. They're very good at explaining their technology. So,
and now they're explaining LiDAR. on the iPad Pro. So
I must read that.
Yes, it's incredible. This piece that goes into depth about what the iPad Pro LiDAR sensor can do in the future.
They're kind of optical experts. I think that's why it's appropriate for them to write this piece.
Absolutely. So this goes into depth about what depth is kind of a funny pun there that was unintended, but is definitely something that they talk about in this article and in this piece, talking about the 2020 iPad Pro, the different camera sensors that are available, and then to go into the LiDAR sensor itself to talk about what it can do.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is pretty cool because they ended up developing a bit of an app to try to understand the LiDAR sensor.
Nice.
And
These
to talk about it.
Loading very slowly. I apologize for this is a Medium post. There they go.
Yes,
so
this is the LiDAR
sensor.
sensor.
I should get this app.
Well, this is just an internal.
Because this is the biggest.
System.
This camera bump is so obscene that I really want to justify it somehow. You know.
Yeah.
And so maybe knowing a little bit more about why it's so thick.
So yeah, let's talk. Here's with Halide, we'd love to use the depth data in interesting ways, even if it's low resolution. There was only one problem. There are no APIs for us as developers to use to get access to the underlying depth data. They only expose the processed 3D surface. What if we rethought photographic capture, though?
What if?
We built a proof of concept we're calling Esper. Esper experiments with real-time 3D capture using the cameras and LiDAR sensor at room scale. It's a fun and useful way to capture a space. So you can use it to even walk around in the 3D space and be able to capture furniture and things like that. Oh, hold on.
What?
It was my understanding that it was not available. Let's see. If you're interested in seeing how this works, download one of Ben's chairs that he captured in Esper.
Oh. You can only download the image.
Yeah.
This is the app Esper, but you can't get
it doesn't seem like it's available yet.
So he's capturing this. Okay, I guess that's the capture, and then this is the resulting. He's moving around. There's his chair. What are we doing with this?
So that's actually the chair was captured with Esper to create a 3D model that then could be downloaded as an AR kit. What is that called? USDZ?
USDZ, yes.
Yeah. So kind of interesting that, instead of taking photos, you're taking 3D photos in a way that can be shared around.
Now, I hope Apple either makes an API so people can develop apps to do this, or makes it available in their camera app, because this is very, very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I use ARKit, would I have access to the data? I must. That must be how they're doing it.
Right. Yeah. The only place that it is available right now within that. So, because otherwise, why already put it on a device if we can't make use of it?
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, definitely check that out. We've included a link there in the show notes. And, you included something in Leo's links, which was about Facebook, the evil company, creating an app for gaming.
I thought this was going to be interesting. It's to compete with Twitch and Mixer. You can now do your live Let's Play game streams in Facebook directly. That's my sense of it. Did you?
No, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's does both creating and watching.
Right.
So you can be a creator who's playing games and streaming to the platform, but then also you can go in and watch. So just like Twitch, just like Mixer, it wants to compete. I mean, it wants to have its finger in everyone's pie, frankly.
What's the name of it? I want to see if it's on the iPad.
Let's see. It's called.
See it.
What is it called? I actually didn't even look to see if it had a name.
Oh, I'm sure it has.
Facebook Gaming. That's what it's called.
Okay. I don't
Facebook
think it's
Gaming.
on the iPad yet, which is too bad because this would be a reasonable place to put it. We'll be right back. More, actually, our app caps coming up and your questions too. But first, a word from our sponsor, Molecule. hey, you know, John, how come you get the molecule in there and I don't get the molecule in here? Maybe we should get the little molecule. Actually, that's what we should do. Get the Molecule Air Mini, put it in here, because it's just the right size room for the Air Mini, and you can have it in the big studio. You can have the big boy Molecule. Molecule is an amazing solution, by the way, and I think misunderstood. People think of it as, like a HEPA filter. It's not. In fact, honestly, HEPA technology goes back to the 40s. Molecule is not that kind of filter, like your mask is a filter. It's not a HEPA filter. It uses PICO technology, photo electrochemical oxidation, PECO, to not filter out particles, but to trap smaller particles even than a HEPA filter can trap and destroy them entirely. So it's not, it has a pre-filtration filter that gets all the dog hair and dander and dust and all that stuff. But most of the stuff that the molecule's all about goes right through that filter, as it would any HEPA filter, to this special catalytic converter on the molecule. And that's, if you open it up and take a look, that's really amazing. Molecule now offers its breakthrough PICO technology across a complete range of products. So they have solutions for your entire home when it comes to air purification. And that's really a better word than air filtration. Whether you need the Molecule Air for large rooms, the Molecule Air Mini for smaller rooms, you can choose the unit that's best for your space, or create a bundle, and you can get an air purification solution like we have or will have, as soon as I get one here, so that the smaller room like this can have the Mini, and we put the big full-size Molecule Air out in the big studio. This thing works so well, and I think it's been misrepresented in the popular press, but I want you to go to the Molecule website, molekule.com, and click on the research links. Read the white papers. There's one that just was completed at the university, or rather the Berkeley Labs, that's run by the Department of Energy, the Lawrence Livermore Labs in Berkeley. And they took the molecule and they put it in an environment where they fed it 3 of the most common and most dangerous gases in an office environment and a home environment. It's an amazing device. So it traps those particles, small particles, volatile organic compounds, toluene, formaldehyde, bacteria, mold, viruses, and allergens, and destroys them. Destroys them completely. So you're breathing the cleanest air you've ever breathed. If you have allergies or you suffer from asthma, this makes a huge difference. It can help you sleep better. And in fact, Lisa knows when our molecule's unplugged, because she'll wake up, she says, I got a headache, I can't breathe. Is the molecule turned off? Yep, somebody unplugged the molecule, sorry. Cleaner air is healthier air. You don't want those allergies. You don't want breathing issues, especially now more than ever. Molecule's PICO technology and filtration systems have been tested and verified by multiple third-party labs, not just the Berkeley Labs, the University of Minnesota Particle Calibration Lab, Intertech. Read the papers if you have any doubt. For 10% off your first air purifier order, just go to molekule.com, molekule.com. Read up on it. See how it works. I think you'll be satisfied as I am. It does something no other air filtration system does. It's air purification. If you use the code iOS at checkout, you'll get 10% off your first order. molekule.com. Enter the code iOS, 10% off your first order. It's so nice to breathe. We have big allergy problems out here this time of year. Just the acacias, the grasses. We are really glad we have the molecule. molekule.com. You don't have to live in Petaluma to love it, but no matter where you are, I think you will. Molekule.com. Don't forget the offer code iOS.
So before I start making use of the hats that you sent me, I have a couple more that are mine, and so this one I'm very happy about.
Oh my God! Who lives in a barnacle under the sea? Lobster,
SpongeBob SquarePants. But here, me matey, it's the Krusty Krab.
Krusty Krab, that's who he is. Did you grow up watching SpongeBob?
I did.
Oh my God, you're so young.
I did. I know.
Mr.
I had
Krabs
my room.
Is here.
My room was painted SpongeBob blue, And it was actually, one of the painting companies had a deal with Nickelodeon. And so it was actually Bikini Bottom Blue.
Oh, wow.
And then every Christmas, I would get a bunch of different SpongeBob stuff. So I had all these SpongeBob lights and decorations and things like that. I was really into SpongeBob as a youth.
Well, can you tell what I am?
A bear?
I don't know.
A babushka?
I think I have kitty cat earmuffs on, but I don't know.
Those are earmuffs.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm going to have to turn the volume up because I should have thought about this before I chose my hat. It's hard to wear headphones with earmuffs.
That is true.
I could switch to my in-ear monitors, but that's ain't nobody got time for that. Why are we wearing silly headgear? They're not even hats at this point.
We're wearing silly headgear, me boy, because it's we're celebrating our app picks of the week.
Arr, Mr. Krabs, tell me what your app cap is this week.
My app cap be the Apple TV app, me boy, and that is because the Apple TV app has a bunch of free content right now. That is available for you to check out. Now, these are some of the shows that I'm actually watching.
All these shows that I paid for, you can watch for free.
So it shows here's free for everyone, free plot twists, free snappy banter, free mind benders, free sidekicks. You tap on one of those, and there's content from Apple TV,
Servant was great,
as well as HBO.
Yeah, Belgravia
Epix.
is not Apple TV, so that's somewhere else. Okay, Epix. All right. Big Little Lies. Oh, that's so good.
That's
and you know
a
what?
popular one. I've never seen that.
Oh, you got to watch that. Yeah, there's 2 seasons of that. For All Mankind, actually, of all the Apple shows, I think that's probably the best.
Interesting. I didn't know War of the Worlds had a series out. That's interesting.
Who wins?
Well, it's the left world, not the right world.
Okay.
Oh, I can watch Succession.
Oh, my God. If they have all... don't watch Succession if they only have the most recent season, because that would be a crime. But if they have all of the seasons, then we should stop the show immediately.
Yeah, looks like they do.
Oh, my God. Okay, we're going to stop the show immediately, and you need to watch all 4 or all 3 seasons of Succession right now.
Oh, my goodness.
So good.
McMillions.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that. That's a documentary about the McDonald's millionaire game, which apparently was
just fraud after fraud.
Fraud after fraud.
I want to give it the time, so that's why I haven't watched it yet. I really want to be focused on it whenever I do. So it's kind of one of those shows where I know I need to be in the mode to watch it and appreciate it.
Nice.
I don't know what My Brilliant Friend is, but that's also available for free. So basically,
that's a wonderful novel, which I guess is now a TV miniseries.
You can see all these different kinds, free plot twists. So it shows you these different shows. All of Epix apparently is free without a subscription. I just watched Rocket Man, and it was quite good. It's about Elton John.
Taron does a very good Elton John. I liked it a little better than the Freddie Mercury version.
Agreed.
Because
absolutely.
It wasn't such a slavish impression.
Right.
So, admittedly, the Bohemian Rhapsody was like letter perfect, smooth, perfect, spot on impression of Freddie Mercury. But I think Taron Egerton was a little bit more the soul of Elton John rather than the exact moves of Elton John. So I thought it was quite well done.
That's very well put. It didn't feel as there was a certain inauthenticity to the authenticity that Rami Malek brought to Freddie Mercury.
Rami's good, and it was well done. I'm not complaining about that, but he spent so much energy making it a simulacrum that I think it was a less interesting movie.
Kind of draws you out of it.
Yeah.
So, check out all this content that's available.
Check out all this content.
If you go onto the Apple TV app. So you just launch the Apple TV app and choose Watch Now and then scroll down to where it shows Just Press Play.
Take advantage
and that's
of
all
that.
The free content.
You can watch all The Sopranos now on HBO and 6 Feet Under. So much good content. In fact, frankly, take a couple of weeks and just watch everything.
You've got it. Might as well.
My app is actually something that responds to a problem a lot of people are having, and I've been meaning to try it out. So I thought, well, this would be a great opportunity to. For a lot of people, the camera on their laptop is really pretty poor. And if you're doing Zoom meetings or Skype and you're using that laptop camera, even the Apple stuff, it's pretty fuzzy and low quality. And it must be a little frustrating because you own this amazing camera in your iPhone or even your iPad. Why can't I use that? Well, now you can with a product called EpocCam, EpocCam. There's a free version. I'm going to demo the free version. You paid the $8 for the paid version. But is it hard to take me seriously with these ears on? But I honestly think that the free version is worth a try. I don't know. If you were buying a Logitech camera, even the cheapest camera, it'd be $30 to $60, and many of them are hundreds of dollars. If you could get it,
marked up right now.
So I think that this price ain't bad. I'm going to go to my Jitsi server right now, and let's see. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so here's one of the other things that happens if you don't pay for it. I'm getting an ad for somebody to do my home siting. So
is that what that is?
That's what that is. So here's EpocCam. I'm using the camera that comes out. Oh, you see there's ads up here too. So maybe it's worth paying the $8 if you don't like ads. They also say you can upgrade for better video quality. And if you have to give them a rating on the App Store if you want to be able to use the front-facing camera, which is pretty funny. So here I am using the front-facing camera. And now let's go over to my Macintosh. On the Macintosh, I have installed the drivers for EpocCam. And you see, again, because I'm not paying...
Got a watermark.
I got a watermark on that sucker. So I'll flip it around, which I do like it that I can flip the video this way or that way. That's really handy because a lot of programs do it backwards, and you can't, if you're like doing screen sharing, it's like, what's going on? So...
Yeah.
What's going on, you might ask, with the fur ball in my ear? So this is using. Let me do this on. I'm going to close out of EpocCam on my iPad, and I'll do it on my iPhone because that's an even better camera, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and you can move it around a lot too.
Yeah, and look at that! Instantly, it saw it because now the one I was doing it before. Oh no, these are both Wi-Fi. So these aren't even direct connect. You can do a USB connection. So here's the camera. I'll flip it around. Oh, I have to like it to start using the flip it around thing. So there you go. There's one of the issues. So you know what? Instead of flipping it around, I'll flip the phone around.
There you go.
And there it is. There's the picture. So this is coming off my iPhone. You see, even with wireless, you have to be on the same Wi-Fi network. It's pretty painless.
Responsive.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a wired way to use it as well as you would use any USB camera. EpocCam, free for the basic features. I think I'm going to pay the $8 because, frankly, this is probably the best way.
It's such a good camera.
It's a good camera. You got a good camera here. Why not use it? Right?
And this is something we were just talking about yesterday on Smart Tech Today. It would be really cool if Apple implemented this sort of feature on the OS level.
They probably charge $8 because they could be Sherlocked at any moment.
That's exactly right. But until they are Sherlocked, this is a fantastic thing. Like I said, a lot of these cameras, if they are available at all, are marked up right now. And so the free version, all on its own is good.
Yeah.
Right. But $8 versus $150 for a camera that's not as good as the one that's on your iPhone.
Yeah.
Hello. I think I'm going to use the iPhone version. The
pretty
app.
obvious. So let me just briefly run through the install. You'll download the app, put it on your iPhone or iPad or both, because it has versions for both. You'll also have to have a Macintosh, and you'll have to install the drivers on your Macintosh, which you get from the EpocCam website. So, I didn't check to see if it works on Windows, because who cares? But maybe I should. So, it's Kinoni, KINONI.com. That's the company that makes EpocCam. And let's see if they get... Oh, yeah, it works on Android and Apple. Doesn't look like there is a driver Yeah, and there's Windows drivers. So this will work on Android, iOS, it'll work for Mac OS, and it'll work for Windows. So you basically can do it. Everybody can do this. So the simple steps are you get the app, you connect your computer and phone either via Wi-Fi or a USB cable. Then you install the computer drivers. You do not, at least on the Mac, have to reboot. That's a nice feature. That means, by the way, they're probably not in the kernel, which is really even better. And then it works on Windows 7 or later. And then once you got the Epic Cam app on your iOS device or your Android device, you open it up and they should see each other. And it was instantaneous. Bob's your uncle. It was about as easy as possible. So if you want a better camera or you don't have a camera and you need to use Zoom or Skype or Teams or any one of the many shared video servers or video call technologies, Duo, FaceTime, this works with everything. I think it's really great. The key is that you're going to use the EpiCam as your camera. So in this case, I'm on Jitsi, using my Jitsi server. But if you're on Skype, you'd go to the video settings and you'd see the built-in FaceTime camera on the Macintosh. Instead of using that, you choose EpiCam as your quote camera, and the software does the rest. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Mikah Krabby Sargent, thank you for being here.
You're so welcome, Leo.
Stay safe.
You as well.
Be careful out there. It's still a dangerous world, but we're all staying healthy in our own special ways. If you like this show, I hope you will watch it every Tuesday. We do a live version of the show at 9 a.m., sometimes going on for hours. But then Mac Break Weekly and then Security Now, so we could spend all Tuesday with us. But it starts at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's noon Eastern Time, 1600 UTC. The live stream's at twit.tv/live. There are on-demand versions at our website, twit.tv. Every show is available at our website. In this case, twit.tv/iOS. There's also a YouTube channel for the show, so you can go there, subscribe, hit the subscribe key, ring the bell, do all the crazy things the kids do, and you'll be. I think the bell's here, isn't it? You'll be a subscriber. You can also, the best thing to do is find your favorite podcast application on iOS or Android or Windows or Mac or whatever, and subscribe. Find iOS Today, press the subscribe button, and that way you'll get every episode the minute it's available late Tuesday for your delectation. Usually I say on your Wednesday morning commute, but that commute probably is 3 minutes from your bedroom to your living room, so listen to it all the time. Just keep it running in the background.
All the time, anytime.
We like hanging out with you. Mike, if people have questions, we didn't do any questions today. We ran out of time. But if they have questions, we can do them next week. How should they send them to us?
Yeah, and thank you. There have been some great questions. You just email those to iostoday@twit.tv. Very simple. You can send audio, video, text, any of those work. And we do appreciate you sending in your questions.
Nice. Mikah Sargent, thank you for giving me this fabulous iPad that's just like my old iPad.
Yes.
We will, next time we're here,
welcome.
have those brand new floating keyboards. We'll be
it'll
using
make all the
our
difference.
iPads. I think it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a whole new show. In fact, maybe next week we should just play with them for an hour.
You know, we find a way anyway, Leo, so we might as well.
All right, Krabby. I'll see you next week. I'll see you all next week on iOS Today. Bye-bye.
iOS Today.
Yay.